For 3 years. Every job I applied for disappeared. Right after one phone call. Not a coincidence. Not bad luck. A pattern. Because every time I got close to being hired, someone would call my employer and tell them I had a criminal record. The problem? I didn't. No arrests. No charges. Not even a parking ticket. But by 27, I was sleeping in a homeless shelter, washing my hair in a gas station sink, and eating once a day, because no one within miles would hire me, and the person behind it, my father. Every week, like clockwork, he sent the same message. Come home. Apologize. And maybe I'll stop. That was the deal. Destroy my life. Until I came back and surrendered it. And for a long time, I almost did. My name is Caroline Johansson. I'm 28 now. But this story really starts the week after my 25th birthday. The week I made the biggest mistake of my life. I tried to leave. I grew up in a place where nothing really changed. Harlem, Ohio. Small town. Quiet streets. Everyone knew everyone. From the outside. My family looked perfect. My dad worked at the manufacturing plant for nearly 2 decades. My mom volunteered at food drives. We were the kind of family people trusted. The kind they pointed at and said, "See, that's how it's done." But inside the house, there were rules. Unspoken ones. I didn't get my own key until I was 20. I couldn't go more than a few miles without explaining where I was. Every dollar I earned went into an account I couldn't access. And I never questioned it. Because when you grow up inside something like that, it doesn't feel like control. It feels like normal. I was a good student. Top of my class. One teacher even told me I could get scholarships. Real ones. I brought the papers home. My dad didn't even open them. College is for people who don't want to work, he said. And that was the end of that. So I stayed. I cooked, cleaned, worked small jobs. And every night at dinner, my dad would say the same thing. You've got a roof, food, and family. What more do you need? For years, I didn't have an answer. Until one random Tuesday morning, I was standing at the sink, scrubbing the same pan I'd scrubbed 1,000 times before. And a thought hit me. Hard. If I stay here, this will be my life forever. Same kitchen. Same routine. Same silence. That scared me more than anything else. The next day, I did something small, but dangerous. I went to the public library, sat at one of the old computers, and created a new email address. Not the shared one my mom monitored. A private one. Mine. Then I applied for a job. A hardware store. 20 minutes away. Nothing big. Just a start. I almost didn't click send. But I did. 2 days later, they called me for an interview. And for the first time in years, I felt something I didn't recognize right away. Hope. That night at dinner, everything felt off. My dad barely looked at me. My mom kept washing dishes that were already clean. No one said anything. But something had shifted. The next morning, I drove to the interview. The manager greeted me, smiled, shook my hand. Then we sat down. And his expression changed. Caroline, he said carefully, is there anything in your background we should know about? My stomach dropped. No, nothing. He sighed. We received a call yesterday. My heart started pounding. Someone said you have a felony record. The room went silent. That's not true, I said immediately. I've never been arrested. He believed me. I could see it. But belief wasn't enough. I'm sorry, he said. We can't take that risk. I drove home in silence. Not crying. Not angry. Just thinking. When I pulled into the driveway, my dad was sitting on the porch, reading the newspaper. He didn't look up. How'd it go? He asked casually. I stood there for a moment. Fine, I said. He nodded. Good. And that's when the thought came back. Only this time. It wasn't small. It was loud. They knew. Over the next 6 weeks, I tested it. 3 more applications. 3 more interviews. And every single one ended the same way. Until one woman finally told me the truth. They called about you, she whispered. That was it. That was the moment everything broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, completely. Because suddenly, I understood. This wasn't protection. This was control. And I had just triggered it. But what I discovered next was even worse. Because it wasn't just my father doing it. My mother had been tracking every move I made. Like I was something that needed to be contained. At first, I tried to convince myself I was wrong. That there was some other explanation. Bad timing. Bad luck. Miscommunication. Because the alternative was unthinkable. That my own parents were deliberately destroying every chance I had to leave. But then, I found the notebook. It happened late at night. The house was quiet. My parents were asleep. I wasn't. I couldn't be. Because once the idea got into my head, it wouldn't leave. So I got up, walked down the hallway, and stopped outside my mom's sewing room. That room was off limits. Always had been. But that night, I didn't hesitate. I opened the door. The smell of fabric and dust filled the air. Everything was exactly where she liked it. Neat. Organized. Controlled. Just like everything else in the house. I went to her desk. Opened the top drawer. At first, I didn't see anything unusual. Thread. Scissors. Old receipts. Then, underneath a stack of fabric, I found it. A small blue notebook. I almost didn't open it. Because some part of me already knew what I was about to see. But I did. And everything inside me went cold. On the left side of the page were names. Businesses. The hardware store. The grocery store. The warehouse. The diner. Every place I had applied. Every single one. And on the right side, next to each name, was a red check mark. Neat. Precise. Intentional. I flipped the page. More names. More check marks. It wasn't random. It was a system. A record. A list of every opportunity one had tried to build. And every one they had shut down. I stood there for a long time, holding that notebook. Because now, there was no doubt. No confusion. No excuses left. This wasn't protection. It was control. And it had been planned. I put the notebook back exactly where I found it. Closed the drawer. Walked back to my room. And didn't sleep. Because now I had a choice. Pretend I didn't know. Or finally say something. The next morning, I chose. I placed the notebook on the kitchen table. Right in the center. My mom was pouring coffee. My dad was making toast. Everything felt normal. Until I spoke. Explain this. My mom froze. Just for a second. Then she looked at the notebook. And started crying. Instantly. Like a switch flipped. You went through my things, she said, voice shaking. The tears came fast. Too fast. Is this how I raised you? I didn't move. You called my employers, I said. Every single one. She pressed a hand to her chest. I did it because I love you. I stared at her. Love. That word didn't feel right anymore. The world is dangerous, she continued. You don't understand what could happen to you out there. I'm 25, I said. My dad finally spoke. Calm. Controlled. We're protecting you. That was it. No denial. No apology. Just justification. I'm going to the police, I said. My dad laughed. Not loudly. Not aggressively. Just, certain. And tell them what, he asked. That your mother made a phone call. He shook his head. They'll send you right back here. And I knew he was right. Because from the outside, they looked like good people. And I looked like the problem. If you don't stop, I said. I'm leaving. Silence. Then my dad looked at me, really looked at me, and said something I'll never forget. You walk out that door. You leave with nothing. I thought he was bluffing. He wasn't. That night, I packed a single backpack, 2 changes of clothes, a charger, a photo of my grandmother. That was it. When I reached the front door, my mom was already there, waiting. If you leave, she said coldly, don't come back. My dad stood behind her, silent, solid, like a wall. I stepped outside, pulled out my phone, opened my bank app, and that's when it hit me again. Balance. $0. Every paycheck, every dollar I had ever earned, gone. Because her name was on the account. She didn't need permission. I need my documents, I said. My ID. My birth certificate. They stay here, my dad replied. Then he closed the door, right in front of me. I stood there for a moment, not crying, not shouting, just standing. Because in that moment, everything I thought I had was gone. At 9:47 p.m., I walked down that driveway with $12 in my pocket. No ID, no plan, and nowhere to go. I ended up at a gas station, sat under the harsh lights, watched cars come and go, like I didn't exist. At 11:16, my phone buzzed. A message from my dad. Come home. Apologize. I'll think about it. I stared at the screen, then turned the phone off. Not because I was strong, because the battery was dying anyway. And that was the moment it became real. I wasn't just leaving home. I was starting from nothing. But what I didn't realize yet was that leaving wasn't the hardest part. Because even after I was gone, they didn't stop. They got smarter. And what they did next made sure I couldn't build a life anywhere. I thought leaving would end it. That once I was out of the house, I could finally start over. I was wrong. Because they didn't just control my life. They followed it. I found the shelter 2 days later. A cashier at the gas station wrote the address on a napkin. Didn't ask questions. Didn't look at me twice. That was the first kindness I'd seen in a while. The shelter was a converted warehouse. Metal beds. Shared bathrooms. Fluorescent lights that never fully turned off. It wasn't comfortable. But it was safe. And at that point, safe was enough. The woman who ran it, Linda, didn't ask me why I was there. She handed me a towel, pointed to a bed. You don't have to explain anything, she said. You just have to keep going. And for the first time since I left, I felt something close to stability. I started rebuilding. Slowly. I applied for replacement documents, waited in lines, filled out forms. Everything took time. Weeks. Months. But I kept moving. Because I believed something simple. If I got far enough away, their reach would end. So I started applying for jobs again. Not nearby. Far. Towns they'd never heard of. Places they couldn't reach. Or at least, that's what I thought. The first interview felt normal. The manager smiled. Shook my hand. Said they'd call me back. The next day. They did. Sorry, he said. We've decided to go another direction. I didn't think much of it. Until the second one. Same thing. Then the third. Same pattern. And then, one of them told me the truth. Someone sent us a report about you, the manager said. My stomach dropped. What kind of report? A police record, he replied. The room went silent. That's not real, I said immediately. I've never been arrested. He hesitated. I believe you, he said. But then he added. Still, we can't take the risk. That's when it hit me. They had adapted. Phone calls weren't enough anymore. So they changed tactics. Now, they were creating proof. Fake documents. Fake records. Things that looked real enough. That no one would question them. I sat on my bed that night, staring at the wall, and realized something terrifying. There was no distance far enough. No place hidden enough. Because they weren't just controlling me anymore. They were erasing me. That night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. But I knew who it was. Still cold out there. I didn't reply. Doors still open. For now. I deleted the message. But the feeling stayed. That pressure. That constant reminder. That I could come back. If I gave up. But something had changed inside me. Not fear. Not anger. Something sharper. Clearer. I started saving everything. Texts. Call logs. Dates. Because even if I didn't know what to do with it yet, I knew I would need it. Weeks passed. Then months. I finally got a temporary ID. It wasn't much. But it was mine. Proof that I existed. And for a moment, I thought things were turning around. Until Linda called me into her office. She never closed the door. That day. She did. Caroline, she said carefully, I got a call about you. My chest tightened. What kind of call? She said she was a social worker. The room went cold. And? I asked. She claimed you were violent, Linda said. That you were a danger to other residents. I didn't move. Because I already knew. That wasn't random. That wasn't a mistake. That was my mother. I didn't believe her, Linda added quickly. That's not how real reports work. Relief hit. But it didn't last. However, she continued, if she reports it through official channels. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Because I understood. I could lose this place too. And that's when something inside me shifted. Not panic. Not desperation. Clarity. For months. I had been reacting. Surviving. Avoiding. But now. I saw it clearly. They weren't going to stop. Not unless I made them. That same week. My father stood up at a town meeting. And told everyone I was lost. That I had fallen into bad influences. That he was trying to bring me home. People believed him. Of course they did. Because he looked like a father in pain. And I looked like a problem. But this time, I didn't try to explain myself. I didn't argue. I didn't defend. I did something else. I wrote everything down. Every word. Every lie. Every detail. Because I finally understood something important. The truth doesn't need to be louder. It just needs to be proven. A few days later, Linda handed me a business card. A woman came looking for you, she said. I looked at it. Private investigator. My heart dropped. Because my first thought was simple. They found me. But something didn't feel right. Because this time, whoever was looking for me, wasn't hiding. And when I finally met her, she didn't threaten me. She didn't lie. She opened a briefcase. And showed me something. That changed everything. I didn't call the number right away. I carried that card for 2 days. In my pocket. In my hand. On my mind. Because I had one question. Was this another trap? Or was this finally a way out? On the third morning, I called. The woman answered on the second ring. Ruth Kalin, she said. Her voice was calm. Professional. I'm Caroline, I said. A pause. Then, I've been looking for you. She came the next morning. 8 a.m. Sharp. No drama. No hesitation. Just a woman in a simple jacket. Holding an old leather briefcase. She sat across from me. Studied me for a moment. Then said something that didn't make sense. Your grandmother asked me to find you. My chest tightened. My grandmother passed away years ago. Ruth nodded. Yes, she said. She planned for this before she did. She placed the briefcase on the bed. On the front, written in faded ink, were 5 words. For Caroline. When she's ready. I recognized the handwriting instantly. My grandmother. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside. Wasn't money. It was something far more powerful. Files. Thick. Organized. Years of documentation. Call logs. Recordings. Every time my mother called an employer. Recorded. Every fake report. Saved. Every lie. Documented. Dates. Times. Proof. I flipped through the pages. 37 calls. 37 attempts to destroy my life. All tracked. All verified. How is this possible? I asked. Your grandmother hired me 10 years ago, Ruth said. 10 years. She suspected this might happen, she continued. And she wanted to make sure you'd have proof. 10 years. She saw it coming. Before I even understood what was happening. Then Ruth opened another section. Legal documents. A trust. My name on it. I scanned the number once. Then again. Because it didn't feel real. $340,000. I couldn't breathe. She left this for you, Ruth said. Why didn't she tell me? Ruth's voice softened. Because she knew if she did, they would take it. That hit harder than anything else. Because it was true. My grandmother didn't just leave me money. She left me a plan. Later that day, I sat in a lawyer's office. For the first time in my life, someone was on my side. Not emotionally. Legally. This is defamation, the lawyer said. Severe, documented defamation. She tapped the files. And this, she added. This is more than enough. Within a week, the lawsuit was filed. My parents were served. And for the first time, they didn't control the narrative. The town reacted fast. Because truth spreads differently than lies. It doesn't need help. People read the records. Saw the calls. The fake reports. The evidence. And slowly, the story changed. Not because I explained it. Because it was undeniable. My father tried to fight it. Tried to stand in front of people again. Like he always had. But this time, no one believed him. The court ruling came weeks later. Clear. Direct. They were liable. The damage was proven. And they were ordered to pay. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel proud. I felt quiet. Because this was never about revenge. It was about stopping them. With the trust. I rented my first apartment. Small. Simple. But mine. I bought a used car. Opened a bank account. Got a job. Not because someone allowed it. Because no one could stop it anymore. The silence in that apartment was different. Not empty. Free. Months later, I received a letter from my mother. No apology. Just, come home. We can move past this. Like none of it had happened. Like it was just a disagreement. I read it once. Then put it down. Because I understood something now. Love doesn't destroy your future. And call it protection. I didn't go back. Not because I hated them. Because I finally chose myself. Today, I'm 28. I have a job. A home. A life that belongs to me. And the one thing they could never control. My future. Bullseye final rehook closing. So let me ask you. If someone was destroying your life. And calling it love. How long would it take you to walk away? Because sometimes, the hardest truth to accept is this. The people who are supposed to protect you aren't always the ones you need to stay with. And the moment you realize that is the moment everything begins to change.